Let's get cooking with Care Team Plus, where flavor meets health. I'm Chef Karla, and today we are going to be making recipes to celebrate and bring awareness to Every Kid Healthy Week for the month of April. So my big trick for today, and we are going to be sneaking in vegetables for all of these great recipes to make sure we get some good nutrient-packed food into our sweet kids in our lives. So today we'll be making, I'm going to start with a veggie-packed meat sauce that's great for pasta, also known as a ragu. We're then going to be making a double chocolate spinach muffin. So good. And then we're going to be finishing with a veggie quesadilla or a squash quesadilla. So each recipe is going to have a little bit of vegetables hidden into it so that our kids may not recognize that we're bumping them up with some good nutrition. It's not deceiving our kids. We love them, right? Deceiving sounds really bad, but we're just sneaking in what's really good for them. We know what's best, right? So to begin, let's go ahead and start with our ragu or our veggie-packed meat sauce. We're going to be doing the best we can to really hide these vegetables. So what I'm going to do is start chopping up these veggies here. I'm going to start with this bell pepper. And also, this entire recipe, this ragu recipe, will cost about $23 to make, beginning to end, and it makes 6 servings, which is a pretty good bit of servings. So what I'm going to do is roughly chop this bell pepper. We're going to put this in all of these vegetables into the food processor. So we're going to end up mincing them pretty well. So just a rough chop will do. All right, so bell peppers, these are nice and high. They're actually high in vitamin C. We think of vitamin C only really being in citrus fruits like oranges and lemons, right? But bell peppers are really high in vitamin C as well. It's nice to know that we can kind of get a variety of nutrition in with a variety of food. So we're doing 1 bell pepper, 1 zucchini. Cut the top and the bottom off, and I'm just rough chopping, so I'm kind of moving through it kind of quickly just because we're not looking for anything specific here. This blender, the food processor, is going to do all of the work for us. And I'm leaving the skin on. The skin on vegetables typically is higher in fiber. It's usually, and not in every case, but it's usually the more nutrient-packed piece of the vegetable. So when you can keep it on there, keep it on. And really, when it comes to vegetables, like I said, they all have different nutrients, a whole spread of different nutrients. Each one's very different. And so the best way to make sure that you or your kids are getting the best form of nutrition is a variety, which is tricky when it comes to kids, isn't it? Because they find one thing that they like and that's the only thing they'll eat. I totally get it. But so if we can kind of just sneak little veggies in where we can and then get them to try different things when we can, which I know is also tricky, I think those little bits kind of help. So then I have 3 carrots here. Again, just rough chopping these carrots. Carrots are high in beta carotene. And so also like sweet potatoes are, the beta carotene is actually what makes the carrots or the sweet potatoes orange. Good to know. And you can really use, if you have vegetables just in your produce drawer of your refrigerator that you want to use them up. Like I'm using, the zucchini, the bell pepper, the carrots. They can all be kind of swapped out for different things. Like if you have yellow squash, if you want to do, celery instead of a bell pepper, you can really kind of play with what you might already have, which is so nice to have a recipe like that in your arsenal, isn't it? Where you can just kind of clean out your refrigerator and still make a really good, delicious, but nutrient-packed meal. You can't beat that. That's like the best of the best. So this meat sauce is really more like a ragu, right? So a ragu is traditionally a meat sauce that's made with like onions, carrots, and celery. It's made with the ground beef, which we're gonna use, and then there's tomato sauce added to it, and usually you'll add like a red wine or some type of wine to it as well with some fresh herbs, and let that simmer down. So we're really taking that awesome, classic, delicious dish and making it just a little bit more kid friendly. And I'll talk you through really like the details of it, but once we're going actually into it. But we're respecting that recipe, but we're just kind of adding a little bit more vegetables for variety. And that's really like our biggest difference, is just the different type of vegetables that we're adding to this ragu sauce. And so for kids, I would tell my son, we're having meat sauce and pasta, or we're just having pasta. He does, I mean, maybe he'll really like the word ragu, I don't know. And this sauce is also, you know, we're going to serve it with just some cooked pasta, and then toss it with some Parmesan and fresh basil just to bump it up a little bit. But you could also use it to make lasagna, would be really good. You could just put it on some buttered toast, to be honest with you. That would be so good. So really whatever works for you and the time frame that you are working with. All right, so we're gonna then go ahead and move on to this garlic. And it says 5 cloves. I like to just do like a handful of garlic though. So we've got a little bit more than 5 cloves. We're making an Italian dish, just go for it. So I'm gonna roughly chop this garlic. Again, we're throwing this all into the food processor, so the food processor will handle it, but I do want to give it a little jump start. Okay, go ahead and pop that in. So if you don't have a food processor, you can either chop your vegetables just by hand, cutting them as small as you can. They don't have to be perfect. Or you can try to use a blender, or you can use a blender. What we're looking for is just a pretty, very well minced vegetable in product, and a blender will definitely do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the top on here, and we're going to mince these veggies. It's going to be very loud. Here we go. Perfect. I'm going to use my spatula and just push them down and make, like, we'll go one more time. This looks great. It's kind of like, I guess maybe think about like the size of the ingredients to like a salsa. If you're looking for, like, how small are we looking here? Beautiful. All right, so check that out. I mean, look at all these vegetables. So this recipe makes 6 servings. And so look at all of those awesome vegetables across the board for 6 people. Like, that's a really good portion of veggies just to start. So you don't have to serve broccoli on the side of this dish or a salad. Just boom, give them the meat, serve everybody the meat sauce, and everybody's going to be super happy and satisfied. So moving on, I went ahead and I turned on my saute pan here. I turned it on about medium-high heat. I want to let it warm up a little bit. Turn this light on. And what we're going to do is now saute these vegetables. So I talk a lot about getting the caramelization of food and letting the food just naturally enhance its flavor. And so heat really does that. So what we're going to do, we're going to put it on medium-high heat. I'm going to add some olive oil to the pan, and I'll put these vegetables in the pan, and we're going to let them saute for 10-15-ish minutes, just so they can really get some great caramelization. A lot of the moisture will cook off of them, and a lot of flavor will come out, which is really great. So I'll pop in my olive oil. So I'm using extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil actually has a lower smoke point, and it is one of the heart healthiest oils. So in this recipe, I would recommend using extra virgin olive oil. Avocado oil is a good option, or even butter is a really good option. It has a really bad reputation, but butter is not bad for you, which is like, hallelujah. Of course, it's in moderation. You don't want to eat sticks and sticks on sticks every day, but it is a saturated fat, and it can be really good for you and your body. So I like to wait until the pan is nice and warm. And you can tell that the pan and the oil is warm once the oil starts to really thin out. So that way, when we add these vegetables to the pan, we want to hear that that really nice saute. If I add the vegetables to the pan and the pan heat is too low, we're going to end up steaming the vegetables. And steamed vegetables versus sauteed vegetables, they are such a bummer. So really give the pan time to preheat and let this saute action really happen. It's good stuff. It's worth the wait. I think we're looking good though. So let's go ahead and add our vegetables. Take the blade out here. Ooh, that's what we're looking for. Beautiful. I think that all these vegetables minced up, it looks like confetti to me. It's just so colorful and fun. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to keep that heat at about medium high. I'll keep my eye on it and kind of keep checking back and forth. But we're going to let it sit for about 3 or 4 minutes before I even stir for the first time. Because in today's recipes, we're really sneaking the vegetables in. So using the food processor, getting vegetables nice and small and really incorporated into the food is our ticket and our trick for the day. Vegetables on the side of the plate, there's nothing wrong with them, but those kids say no sometimes. And sometimes they're not in the mood to try anything new, right? And same, I'm not either sometimes. But vegetables definitely can have a place in the diet and still be really flavorful and really pump up the flavor. They're not just for nutrition. They are very good. Okay, so I have the vegetable sauteing right now. I'm gonna keep my eye on them. I'll kind of keep popping back and forth for this ragu recipe. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and just make our muffins. Let's get this party started. All right, so I'm gonna pull up my ingredients in front of me so we can see them all. Like I said, we're gonna pop a lot of it, all of it, into our food processor, which makes things so easy. I love that so much. So I have some browned or ripened bananas. I'm gonna put 3 of these in. So my trick with brown bananas, we buy bananas all the time, and often the bananas just turn brown before we can even get to them. So what I like to do to save some money and not waste these bananas is once they turn brown, I peel them and just pop them in a Ziploc bag. So I have 1 Ziploc bag in our freezer just full of browned bananas. So it's perfect for making smoothies or just pulling them out for banana bread or this muffin recipe. So I have 1 banana that I pulled out of our freezer because I already had the 2 right at room temperature. And when you cook or bake with these frozen bananas, you can just pop them straight to the food processor. They don't need to be thawed. Just go straight from the freezer into your food processor. They just don't look very pretty because they're just wet, but they get the job done. It's a really great trick. It always makes me feel better so then I'm not wasting my bananas. Speaking of waste, this recipe, it's going to make 12 muffins, and it's about $12 to $14 to make the entire batch of muffins. That's so good, isn't it? Like if you go to Panera or any bakery, you're paying like $4 or $5 per muffin. Crazy. And this one has spinach in it. All right, next I need 3 eggs. So I'll crack these eggs in. Eggs are high in protein. They're high in, we've talked about this last week because we made breakfast. They're high in choline. They're really good for you. They're high, they have a good bit of fat, protein, and so many other nutrients. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. All right, then we're going to do 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. And you could do honey or maple syrup, whichever you prefer, whatever you have already. I just recommend using a grade A maple syrup. So Mrs. Butterworth, unfortunately, she's majority corn syrup, which is such a bummer that that's even like on the market, but just opt for, just splash myself with a little bit of maple syrup, which is really not a bad thing. Just make sure that when you check out your maple syrup, you're at the grocery store, you're looking, I would recommend just making sure the ingredient reads maple syrup. It shouldn't have anything else in it. It should just be 100% maple syrup. Great. Get this out of the way. Then we're going to add our vanilla extract. So I need 1 tablespoon here. Okay, call me crazy. A really great money saving tip is to make your own vanilla extract. Pure vanilla extract is pretty expensive, and they give, you know, it's such a small jar. So I know it takes a little bit of time. I totally get that. It's kind of annoying in that regard. But a really good trick is to make your own. So, oh, I hit my tablespoon right here. So what I do is just buy vanilla beans on Amazon or just at the grocery store. You can get kind of them in bulk. And then these jars, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Amazon, pretty cheap. And the rest is, so then you cut the vanilla bean, you'll cut it in half lengthwise, and then use your knife to kind of spoon out the beans. And then you put them in the jar, and then you fill this jar up with alcohol. So it could be vodka. I've used like a spiced rum before, but vodka is usually my go-to. And then it sits in this jar for about 6 months, and you just kind of keep shaking it. And that's it. So like this is a huge amount of vanilla extract for super cheap. So it's an investment in time, but it's also like a really great gift. Christmas gift, housewarming gift, anything. So if you go to the effort of making it, give it to your friends and your neighbors too. Maybe? All right, so I need about a tablespoon of vanilla extract. Beautiful. And then I'm going to go ahead and blend this up to make sure it all gets nice and smooth. The bananas in here need to kind of be chopped up a little bit. There we go. Great. That looks good. Okay, so we're gonna pause on the muffins for a second. I'm going to go ahead and stir our vegetables here for the ragu. Ooh, this looks good. So the vegetables, a lot of the moisture, you can see the steam, a lot of the moisture is cooking off, which is great. So we want to kind of concentrate that flavor by removing that amount of water. And then I'm seeing some caramelization happen at the bottom of the pan. So that caramelization equals flavor. This is good. This looks great. I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. We'll keep moving forward with our muffins. Keep my eye on that. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of almond flour. So this is a gluten-free recipe. For some people that really matters, and if not, it's still a really great option. The almond flour, the rice flour, they're both more hot. They're both a little bit more nutrient dense than a bleached white flour. So in the nutrition realm, it is a good option. So I'm gonna do 2 cups here. This is a half cup measuring cup. And the almond flour we actually wanna pack down when we're popping it in. So like when you measure brown sugar, kind of pack it in a little bit more. That's what we're going for here. One more. And so these flours, they are going to be a little bit more pricey. And so really the thing with that is that it is a good investment in just being a little bit more nutrient dense. They last pretty, almost just as long as regular flour. So if you're finding that you're hopefully making more of these recipes with this type of flour, you'll find that it's worthwhile. I've not experimented with using just an all-purpose flour in this recipe, you're totally welcome to. I think it might be like a pretty good exchange. Like if you did, so we're calling for 2 cups and 1/4 of flour total. We're gonna do 1/4 cup of this flour here, the rice flour. These 2 flours actually absorb more moisture than an all-purpose flour would. So just the measurements might be kind of funny. So anyway, experiment with it if you're curious. I've not ever tried it yet. I'd be curious to know how it does land though. All right, so we're gonna do 1/4 cup of rice flour. I'm always trying to think of alternatives. And so when I'm thinking about it, sometimes my brain is just in overdrive trying to make sense of it all. Okay, then we're going to do 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. Oops. There we go. That's pretty good. Made a little bit of a mess. Then we need 1/4 cup of chia seeds. So chia seeds, they're high in fiber and omega-3 fatty acids. So again, we're pumping up the nutrition there. Then we're gonna do 3 cups of spinach. So this is a 5-ounce container of spinach. So I think, I'm just like roughly guessing here. That's probably about 2 cups. And this is going to be crazy. I have some leftover microgreens, and I'm just to use them up, I'm gonna throw them in. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so fun? So if you have some greens just laying around in your refrigerator, throw them into this recipe. Spinach, of course, is going to be great because it really doesn't have much flavor, as opposed to like arugula is going to be a little bit too peppery to just toss into this recipe. But spinach is great. Any, romaine, throw it in. It's a good way to use up what we have, right? Makes things far more cost effective. All right, we're looking good over here on the ragu. I'm gonna pause and come back over. Yes, this is great. Okay. So I'm on the ragu. I'm gonna move this out of the way so you guys, we're pausing on our muffins for a moment. So now that we've let the vegetables really caramelize, I'm gonna push the vegetables to the side of the saute pan, and then I'm going to add my ground beef. Turn that heat down a little bit. Now that a lot of that moisture is cooked off, it's gonna start to burn a little on the easier side, so you have to be careful. I'm going to wash my hands really quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and break the meat up in the pan. I'm just using a ground beef here. I actually, contrary to popular belief, I actually like to use an 80-20 when we can, especially if you can get your hands on a grass-fed ground beef. Again, saturated fat, it's had a really bad reputation, but it does play a really great important role in the health of your body. So we've just kind of been trained in our brains to constantly think lean meat, white meat, lean ground beef when we can. But it's really healthy for us to include some saturated fats, the healthier saturated fats in our diet, because it really does support our body a lot and very well. So I'm using an 80-20 ground beef here. If you can, again, get your hands on a grass-fed, that's going to be great. It's going to be higher in omega-3 fatty acids. If you can't, don't worry about it. Go for what you have. If you don't like ground beef, you could definitely use ground sausage. You could do ground chicken. All right, so while this is happening, I'm going to go ahead, it's cooking up pretty quickly, which is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my water and get that boiling. It's pretty close. And then I'm going to go ahead and season up the vegetables and meat over here. So I'm going to add my salt and pepper. So I need about 2 teaspoons here. That's salt. Then we'll do our ground pepper. Awesome. We need about 3 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. I really carefully measure here. There we go. Yum. Then we need 2 teaspoons of honey. So, you know, marinaras, they all have like a little bit of sweetness to them, right? So we're just going to add a tiny bit here, just a spoonful of honey. And so honey has a little bit more, a tiny bit of nutrients to it as opposed to just white sugar. It's of course less processed. And it has some micronutrients to it, so that's why I like to cook with honey. And then we're going to add our tomato sauce. So we need 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes. And then 1/4 cup of tomato paste. So this is going to give it more of just a great viscosity, a thickness to the sauce. So it's almost this whole thing of tomato paste. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and continue to break up the ground beef. Ooh, this looks good. Okay, and our last ingredient is going to be some form of liquid. So I need 1/4 cup. You can do white wine, red wine, water, chicken stock, bone broth, whatever you have on hand. Toss it in. I have an open bottle of white wine, so I thought, let's use that. Why not? But anything that you have truly will work just fine. This recipe has so much flavor already that it's not going to make or break the end product. So I'm going to go ahead and add my white wine. There we go. And then just stir it and incorporate everything. Make sure the beef is really chopped up pretty well. Yum, this looks good. And the vegetables are so small, you really can't see them. You can see like a little bit of color of the carrot, but that is all. Kids are detectives though, aren't they? They know. But we'll see how this goes. Okay, that looks good. All right, so I'm going to turn this down to low heat. Let me show you actually so you guys can see a little bit closer. There we go. It looks like it's cooked all the way through, right? So our meat's cooked through, the veggies look good, it looks good. So now we're just going to let just a little bit, that time's going to work some magic here and let the flavors of the Italian seasoning really bloom and the salt and the pepper and everything become incorporated. I'm going to turn it down to a low heat. We're going to cover it for about 10, 15 minutes more. And that's a really great time to get our pasta going. Got my water boiling, or at least almost at a boil. Ragu is looking good. Now let's get back to finishing up our muffins, our double chocolate spinach muffins. So where we finished off was I added a load of microgreens and spinach here. And we're gonna add some baking soda and some salt and blend this up. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So baking soda, it's kind of the science of the recipe. So baking soda helps spread the end result here. Baking powder will usually help puff the end result. It's just good to know. Then we need about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. There we go. Measure it over the sink, so if a little spills out, no big deal. Now I'm going to give it a blend. The chocolate chips we're waiting till the end, at least until they've blended all the way through. Okay, so let's blend this until it's nice and smooth. Nice. We have a little bit of spinach leaves stuck to the top. So I'm going to use my spatula and just push everything back down, make sure it's all incorporated. But this looks like delicious chocolatey goodness, right? Where did all those greens go? Nobody knows. So spinach and greens are packed with nutrition, vitamin K, magnesium, there's fiber in there. They're so good for you. So eating a salad is not always an option, but this is a really great way to kind of sneak in those extra little nutrients when we can. And a double chocolate muffin on the go, that's a good way to do it. In my swiftness, I lost there we go. I lost a little liner. Okay, so this looks really good. Check it out. Some good chocolate deliciousness. It just looks like a chocolate batter. So then we're going to go ahead and scoop all of it into, it's going to be about 1/4 cup per muffin. We'll scoop into each little muffin liner. And this is just like an ice cream scoop here. I love it. I use it for so many different things. Cookies, muffins, when I make those little energy balls, they're just so helpful. Ooh, I hear our water boiling. I'm going to go ahead and throw our pasta in. We're going to let this pasta cook for about 7 to 10 minutes or until it's al dente. This recipe, like I said, it makes 12 servings. And so you might be thinking like, ooh, there's no way we're going to make it through all 12 servings. I don't know. They're delicious, you might. But an option is that you can actually freeze these. So once you cook them all the way through, just let them cool and then you can pop them in the freezer. They can stay in your freezer for up to 6 months. So it's really nice. Like if you want to just go ahead and get things prepped, or save, have some of them now and then save the rest for another time when you just need some more variety. That's a good, easy trick. All right, those look so good, fantastic. All right, we're going to pop them in the oven. They're going to cook for about 22 to 27 minutes. We'll keep our eye on them and go from there. We're looking super good here. Our ragu has been cooking for a few more minutes, at 10 to 15 minute range. It's looking fantastic. And then over here we have our pasta still boiling away, and I think it's ready to be strained out. Let's go ahead and strain it out and build this awesome, flavorful dish. So I'm just using this cute little gadget. It does a great job of straightening out the pasta so you don't drop it all into the sink. Ragu looks amazing. Ooh, this looks so great. Awesome. So I turned the heat off on both. I'm going to go ahead and pop the pasta here into a bowl. About a cup's worth. there we go, smidgen more. And then we'll go ahead and serve the ragu. It's just a nice, thick, meaty veggie sauce, so flavorful. That looks so, it smells so good, you guys. Awesome. And then I have some fresh basil here and Parmesan. So I'm going to go ahead and top it with some shaved Parmesan. This is something I think our kids can get behind. Have we cracked the code? Only time will tell. This ragu sauce actually also will freeze really well. So if you make a really big batch, let it work for you in the future. So you can take what you want for the week or for these next few days, and then just pop the rest in your freezer. It will last in your freezer for about 6 months. Some fresh basil here. Ooh, my friends, check this out. This looks like a fantastic gourmet Italian dish. I'm so excited for you and your kids to try it. So this is our veggie packed meat sauce or ragu. Like I said, it's great for lasagna. It's great just to put on some toasted bread with a little bit of butter. So, so good. And today we're serving it with just some rigatoni. Enjoy this. All right, next, so our muffins are still in the oven. Those are going to keep cooking. We're going to go ahead and finish with our last recipe, which is our zucchini or our veggie packed quesadillas. So what we're gonna do, our goal here in today's class is really to just kind of hide our vegetables. So what I'm going to do is shave or shred this zucchini to make it look like the same size as shredded cheese. So it will kind of incorporate really well into this zucchini texture-wise. The only thing that the kids might see is a little bit of color from the green zucchini. So I'm just going to use a cheese grater here and grate this zucchini. Zucchinis are great because they're really good for you, but they're pretty mild in flavor. They're just really delicate, a little on the sweeter side. So they're really great just to incorporate in recipes here and there. There we go. Go ahead and throw that little nub away. And this recipe is going to make 6 servings, and it actually runs in for about $15 total to make all 6 servings. How great is that? Okay, there we go. So then, the zucchini is pretty moist, right? So what I want to do, get this towel out of the way, I want to just go ahead and strain out as much of the liquid as I can, because we don't want a soggy quesadilla. And so if we have too much moisture in the quesadilla filling, it will just kind of seep out and steam while we're cooking it and make for a soggy tortilla. So let's go ahead and pop that in a strainer while we're chopping up everything else. Next, we're going to go ahead and chop up a red onion. So I'm going to mince a red onion and then mince up some cilantro. And honestly, this part's optional. I know some kids might not like raw onion at all or even a little bit of onion. So while onions are very good for us, it's okay if we skip here and there to make sure that we're getting something in, right? All right, so we're going to go ahead and mince this, and I do want to mince it pretty small, because if it's too large, it will kind of course, be a little too chunky in the quesadilla, and it will kind of keep the quesadilla from holding together really well. And I need about 1/4 of a cup, or to your, whatever your preference is. Beautiful. Great, great. So go ahead and pop onion in there. That's probably plenty of onion. Move this to the side. And then lastly, I love cilantro. Some people, it's like a love or hate, right? So if you like it, use it. If you're not a fan, you can use parsley if you'd like, or you can skip it altogether. So herbs are something it's common, they take a little bit extra time. So it's pretty common for us to just be like, oh, we'll just not use it today. But I highly urge you to use the herbs when you can and when you're in the mood, because they're like little mini vegetables. They are like the green leafy vegetables that we tell you to eat all the time. That's what these herbs are. So there's good reason to spend a little bit of money on them and to incorporate them when you can. And they're super they're super flavor packed. So I'm just removing like the larger ends of the stems. A little bit of stem is, of course, totally fine. It's just so bright in flavor. It smells so good. Great. So I'm going to make a nice tight pile here of this cilantro. And run my knife through it. Nice. Okay. Rinse that off. And then let's check on our zucchini. So what I'm going to do is just kind of press and squeeze the zucchini out, any of this moisture, and see if we can get any extra liquid out. You can also wrap it up in a paper towel or some cheesecloth and just give it a good squeeze. There we go, some's coming out. That looks good. Move that to the side. I'll dump out this moisture. I'm going to use the same bowl. That is my biggest trick when cooking, is try to use as minimal dirty dishes as possible. Otherwise you'll just wear out washing all the dishes, right? Go ahead and pop. So I've got cilantro, zucchini, and onion here. So we're just really like flavoring up this concoction, this quesadilla. Then we're going to add, I need about a pound of chicken here. And so I'm a big advocate for using protein when we can. Cheese does have some protein to it. And of course the tortillas are going to have a little bit of protein, but if you can have your kids enjoy some protein, definitely put some protein in here. Ground beef would be great too. Even if, if you want to do canned black beans, I'm actually just using a rotisserie chicken. Just makes life a lot easier. So about a pound. And a pound of chicken is going to really pump up this protein, making a quesadilla, which can sometimes be more like a snack. It's going to really add a lot of nutrition. It's going to just create a lot of good fullness for your child. So it'll be a really good alternative. This quesadilla filling, it makes a pretty big batch, right? So we're making about 6 quesadillas. And you might be thinking like, oh, I only need to make like 1 or 2 servings right now, maybe, I don't know. And if that's the case, awesome. I would recommend still making this whole batch, and then you can have this prepared batch in your refrigerator and just, sear up the quesadillas to order, if you will. So you can kind of keep this prepped in your refrigerator. And then when it becomes dinner time or snack time, crank out the pan and whip up the quesadillas from there so they're nice and fresh. I've also taken this mixture and just cooked it up with my eggs in the morning. It's super great, just so flavorful and something different. All right, I think we're at about a pound. That looks good. You can also use canned chicken, whatever works. And lastly, we're going to add some cumin. Just to add a little bit of flavor, I need about a half a teaspoon. And then I am going to add a little bit of hot sauce. So if you're making this for young kids, you can maybe skip the hot sauce. So I'm going to do about a half of a teaspoon. So it just adds a little bit of something. Nothing, it shouldn't be heat, it should just be warmth. And then we need about a half a cup of mozzarella cheese. Perfect. We'll give it a stir. And just get everything incorporated. So usually when we make quesadillas, or if you go to Chipotle and that you see them making quesadillas, they usually put the cheese down in the tortilla, then the chicken, and then whatever else from there. But what we're doing is incorporating everything together. So the cheese, the zucchini, all of the, seasonings, the cumin and the hot sauce, so it all comes together. So that the zucchini essentially is going to just look like shredded cheese. That's our goal. And we'll all have really great flavor and not just random chunks of this or that. Okay, so look there. We've got a good bit of green because of that cilantro and the zucchini. But that looks so good. Okay, so come over here. I'm going to move our ragu to the side. And then I'm going to turn the heat on to about medium-high heat. And like I said, avocado oil is a higher heat cooking oil, so it's a perfect oil to use in something like this, where we are going to heat it up a good bit. So I'm going to add some avocado oil to the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and put the tortilla in. And then what I like to do is put half of it in, really. And then I'll use my scoop and take the quesadilla filling and just put it on half of the tortilla. And then close the tortilla so it kind of folds over. There we go. That looks good. And so we'll let that cook so it just gets nice caramelization and crispiness on the quesadilla. And then I'll give it a flip. It'll be about 2 or 3 minutes per side. Let's check on our muffins while those are cooking. Ooh, these look good. Oh my goodness. Check out these muffins. These look so great. So to test if they're done, you just want to kind of touch the top of them. If they're sinking a good bit, pop them back in the oven. You can top them with some sea salt if you want, like if you like that chocolate sea salt alternative. I'm going to, just for some good measure, just a few of them. Ooh, that looks so good. They smell delicious, just like dessert. Those look great. So these are really good. Again, you can cook them all the way through like we just did. Let them cool, and then you can pop them in a Ziploc bag or just a container and pop them in your freezer. They'll last for 6 months. And then just to let them thaw, pull them from your freezer, put them in your refrigerator and let them thaw overnight, and they're good to go. So these are really great to kind of cap off if you pack lunch for your kids. A really great little treat in their lunchbox. It's great for an after school snack or on their way to soccer practice or dance. I mean, really, where do we need to, I don't think a double chocolate muffin's hard to sneak into our day, right? And it's full of greens, which is so good for our kids and for our bodies, and you should enjoy these muffins too. All right, I'm gonna pop these to the side and get them out of the way, but those look fantastic. I'm so happy with those. And our quesadilla looks great. I'm going to go ahead and give it a flip. Ooh, nice. Yum, nice and crispy. So like I said, about 2 or 3 minutes per side. One quesadilla is going to be about 320 calories and it has about 30 grams of protein, which is awesome. And this is really great. You could serve it with like half an avocado or some salsa, some sour cream. Just a really good lunch or just a fun dinner. Ooh, that looks so good. Check out that crispiness. That is what we're looking for. And I'll just cut this one in half because our tortilla is pretty small. Yum. There we are. So that is our zucchini or our veggie quesadilla, where our zucchini is just kind of hidden in there. And don't forget that you can actually freeze the filling for our quesadilla and sear up the quesadilla to order, if you will. Thank you guys so much for watching today's cooking demonstration provided by Care Team Plus. Really bringing awareness to Every Kid Healthy Week. We really want everyone to be healthy, and it's just so helpful to know little tips and tricks to make our kids, the ones that we love the most, nice and healthy, and sneaking those vegetables in is a really great start to do so. Please make sure you share this video with your friends or your family if you've enjoyed it. turn on notifications to receive any updates from Care Team Plus on Facebook, and be sure to follow the Care Team Plus page. I'm Chef Karla. Thank you for watching.